Um, Hi guys, this is Cyril Peterson. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, I'm super excited because we just hit the 250 subscriber mark, which is awesome. So please do continue subscribing. It is really encouraging to know that people out there wanna hear more of our content, and I promise to keep on more content, the regular content coming at least once weekly, and soon I'll be doing every day, uploading videos and content every day for your purposes. So thank you so much for joining me. If you like these videos, please click the subscribe button and also hit the bell icon so that you can get more of our videos and notifications immediately when they come. And if you enjoyed this video, to let YouTube know and to also encourage me, just hit on the like button so that more people can discover this video. And if you are blessed by this, can also leave a comment down below. And if you also have any questions or comments, please comment down below, and I promise to respond to each and every one of them. So today I want us to have a meditation. I'm actually at Starbucks here, drinking some tea, and I was just studying my Bible, and I thought that it'll be great to just share a little bit from my meditations today in my Bible study, and I trust that it will be an enormous blessing to you. I believe that it will edify you and bring a lot of things into perspective as well. So you may forgive me for the environment. I just having coffee, but hey man, I gotta rather make the best of this opportunity while it's still fresh in my spirit. So I'd like to share with you. So we're gonna look at two key figures in the Bible. They are one of the greatest miracle workers, um, basically Moses and Elijah. And when you speak of Moses and Elijah, there's so much curiosity around them. There's so much controversy around them as well. And I'd just like to juxtapose, to put together and draw some parallels and some parallelism between the lives of the Lord Jesus, Moses, and Elijah, and then see what we can learn from that. So, the first thing we see is that Moses, Elijah, and the Lord Jesus all took 40-day fasts, protracted 40 days fast in their time on earth. So we see that commonality, that all of them, it is recorded that they were great miracle workers. It is recorded that they took prolonged 40-day fasts in their time on earth. That is the first thing we notice about them. Number two, here is a curious thing. Nobody can point to the grave of Elijah. Nobody can point to the grave of Jesus. And nobody can point to the grave of Moses. How curious is that? We can't find the grave of the Lord Jesus. We cannot find the grave of Moses. We cannot find the grave of Elijah. So none of them, we cannot point that here lies Moses, here lies Elijah, here lies the Lord Jesus. The Lord Jesus rose from the dead. You understand? So the grave is empty. We cannot say here lies Jesus. Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind. He was not buried anywhere. And then Moses was himself buried by God. And no one till this day can find that place or ever will find that place. So it is curious, you understand? And so I want us to have a look and delve into the lives of these three men and see what other things we can see in their lives. So I like this guy Elijah, because he just burst unceremoniously into the scene, and he was bearing much similarity to Melchizedek's appearance. The Bible does not set us up for the appearance of this man Elijah. He just bursts unceremoniously into the scene. We first see him in 1 Kings 17:1, where Elijah appears bearing a message of covenant curse for Ahab. So he appears talking about a curse for Ahab. And what is this curse? That a drought is coming, and a drought will afflict the land. We see this in 1 Kings 17:1, that there's coming a drought and there will be no rain until I say so, says Elijah. So he comes bearing a message of covenant curse. And then this message is met with opposition. For the Lord told him to hide in the east side of Jordan. This is 1 Kings 17 verse 3, where he's told to hide in the east side of Jordan. So Elijah's flight from Ahab, whereby he's hiding in the east side of Jordan, it is parallel to the wilderness wanderings of Israel. And there are certainly analogies between the events, the wilderness wanderings of Israel and the flight of Elijah to Jordan. There are some parallels you can see there, some parallels, you understand. Number one, there was miraculous provision of bread, you understand. A raven fed Elijah, an angel fed Elijah, a widow fed Elijah, and also while they were in the wilderness, manna rained from heaven, you understand. There was miraculous provision of bread and water in both contexts, you understand. Like there was water coming out of a rock, so there is so much parallelism and analogies between the two events. But in our context, particularly in this particular context, Moses and Elijah, we see it has a more direct reference to the flight of Moses from Egypt to Midian. Remember, Moses killed an Egyptian soldier and then he had to run, you understand. So the flight of Moses from Egypt to Midian is paralleled with the flight of Elijah to the east side of Jordan. You understand? So the flight of Moses is seen in Exodus chapter number 2, verse 11 to 15, whereby Moses runs to Midian. So we see that Elijah, he decreed a decree to Ahab in Samaria. So Elijah is in Samaria, and when Elijah is in Samaria, he decrees a decree to Ahab. And after decreeing this decree to Ahab, it is not well received, you understand? And then he runs to the east side of Jordan. And when he's there, the Bible tells us that he was by the brook Cherith. He was by a brook of water, Cherith. And the word Cherith, it means to cut. You understand? It means to cut. And why was it called Cherith? It is because the rocks were porous and water would permeate. So it was water coming from a rock. What a parallelism. Also, in the wilderness, there was water which came from a rock. After Moses spoke to it, water came from a rock. What parallelism. And Jordan, it means descender because it is a river which is flowing downstream. So Jordan means descender. It is taken from the root word Jared, which means to descend. And Jared is the father of Enoch. Great. Yeah, so what a nice study one can look into. So now Moses left Egypt, but Egypt is taken from the Hebrew word Mizraim. And the word Mizraim, it means boundary or limit. You understand? And then he went all the way to Midian. But now Midian is the son of Abraham by Keturah, which means quarrel or contention. So there is so much meaning behind and truth behind the meaning of these words. And then Moses went to Midian and he stayed with Ruel, Jethro. Jethro's other name is Ruel. But the word Ruel, it means friend of God. We see that in the L, Ruel, friend of God. So Ruel was Moses' father-in-law, who, like Abraham, Moses' true father, was a friend of God. So also we see the parallelism again, the analogy with the flight of the Lord Jesus Christ when he had to flee as a baby from Herod, because Herod wanted to kill the baby Jesus. So like Jesus, like the Lord Jesus, out of Egypt have I called my son. You know the verse in Hosea, out of Egypt have I called my son. So we see the Lord Jesus left Egypt, coming back to the promised land, moving to the east. Elijah moving to the east side of Jordan. Moses leaving Egypt, going to Midian. So if you look at the map, all of them went to the east. So we see them all fleeing towards the eastern side, or all of them going to the eastern side. So what a parallel. So this is the first key thing that we see, that they are all moved in their lifetime towards the east, right? Now the second thing I want us to have a look at is that in the course of flight, both Moses and Elijah encountered women. In their course of flight, both of them encountered women. So we're quickly going to read a few verses in the book of First Kings, chapter number 17. 1 Kings 17 from verse 8. Now listen to what it says. 1 Kings 17 verse 8. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongs to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee. So he arose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering sticks. And he called to her and said, Fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, Bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thy hand. And then we can go on with the story. We know it. Now let us compare this with Exodus chapter number 2, when Moses fled. Exodus chapter 2 from verse 16. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs of water to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Ruel, their father, he said, How is it that ye are come so soon today? And etc. etc. We can read the story. But we see that when Moses fled, when Moses moved eastward, he encountered women who were drawing water from a well. When Elijah went eastward to Zarephath, he encountered a woman who also gave him water. So significantly, in both cases, the women are associated with water. So Moses moved to the east, encounters a woman associated with water. Elijah moved to the east, he encounters a woman associated with water. So Moses met the daughters of Ruel at the well, and Elijah asked the widow of Zarephath for water. Now the word Zarephath, it means refinement. It was the smelting place of silver, perhaps around Sidon. Now the word Sidon, it means fishery. It was the kingdom of Ethbal. It means fishery, it is the kingdom of Ethbal. And Ethbal is Jezebel's father. And Ethbal, it means with Baal, or Baal with him. And this conflicts against the concept of Emmanuel, God with us. So we see this dynamic as well. You understand? So I'll go deeper in this in another video. So, but the word Baal, it means Lord, thus husband. And the word Jezebel, interestingly enough, it means unexalted or unhusbanded or chastity. So speaking of the marriage bed, how interesting is this? But now it goes even crazier than that. Now the Lord Jesus also encountered a Samaritan woman by a well and also asked for water. And the Bible tells us in the book of John 4 that the Lord Jesus says, I must needs pass by Samaria. So he took a long drive going right through Samaria, and he went eastward. And when he went eastward, he got to a well. And when he got to a well, he was looking for water. And guess whom he asked for water? He asked a woman for water. So can we see the dynamic here? Can we see where the Bible is taking us? Now, the third thing I want us to look at is that Moses married Zipporah, who bore his son in a strange land. We can see this in Exodus 2:23. It says, And it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of their bondage, and they cried unto God for reason of their bondage. And you can go down with it. I can't explain that long. But Moses married Zipporah, who bore his son in a strange land. We get that. Now also, Moses married Zipporah. You understand? And Zipporah bore a son to Moses in a strange land. Elijah also, he restored the widow's son to life. You understand? So they are all there to birth out a son, to release a son, to restore a son. So Moses gave a son to Zipporah, his wife, in a strange land. In a strange land. Elijah restored the widow's son to life. And then Jesus came to redeem Adam, the Son of God. So we see in Moses and Elijah their connection with the Son is showing us how the Lord Jesus, the Son, came to restore Adam, the Son of God. Now, after 40 years, now this is the fourth point. After 40 years in Midian, Moses was called to return to Egypt to confront Pharaoh and lead Israel out of bondage. So after 40 years in Midian, Moses was called to return to Egypt to confront Pharaoh and lead Israel out of bondage. You get that? Similarly, after many days of fasting, the Lord sent Elijah to confront the Pharaoh-like king of Israel, who is Ahab. So after 40 days of prayer and fasting, the Lord calls Elijah to confront Pharaoh. After 40 days, after 40 years in the wilderness, the Lord calls Moses to confront Pharaoh. And then after the Lord Jesus fasted for 40 days, guess what? He confronted the God of this world, the God of the systems of this world, Satan himself. You understand? Look at the parallel, look at the synergy among these things. Oh, wow. Now, the fifth thing I want us to look at briefly. Now, I could expound on all of these things. In fact, each and every point I raised deserves a video on its own. And if you'd like that, just let me know in the comment section, hit like, and also share this video in your news feed on social media. So, but look at this. Before his first meeting with Pharaoh, Moses spoke to Aaron and assembled the elders of Israel. So before his first meeting with Pharaoh, Moses spoke to Aaron and assembled the elders of Israel. We find this in the book of Exodus, chapter number 4, verse 27 to 31. So Moses spoke to Aaron and assembled the elders of Israel, right? Elijah as well did not immediately meet with Ahab, but he met with an ally of his by the name of Obadiah. So Obadiah was an ally of Elijah. So before Elijah went to confront after the 3 years of famine and drought, before he went to confront Ahab, he first met with an ally, Obadiah. Moses, before he went to confront Pharaoh to let the people of God go, he first went and consulted with Aaron and the elders of Israel. Now the word Aaron, it means light bearer. The word Obadiah, it means servant of Jah. Interestingly enough, before the Lord Jesus went to be crucified, he first had supper with his disciples. You understand? Before he went to finally bring an end to the torment mankind was under, before he brought salvation, before making an open spectacle of the enemy, before doing that, he asked his disciples to sit down and have a meal with him. So the Lord Jesus sits down as a meal with his disciples. Elijah went and met with an ally of his, who is Obadiah. You understand? And Obadiah is the same guy who was feeding the 7,000 prophets with water and with bread. This is Obadiah who was doing that. And then also, before Moses went to confront Pharaoh, he met with with Aaron and the elders of Israel. Let me have a cup of tea. Now, check this out. There was a confrontation, right? And this confrontation happened when Elijah confronted the prophets of Baal, whatever you want to call it, at Mount Carmel. This conflates with a number of events from the life of Moses. It conflates with a number of events from the life of Moses. And the chronologically parallel sequence evident in this earlier event, it breaks down somewhat, right? So think on that. It conflates with a number of things. You understand? A number of things. On the one hand, the events at Carmel, they reflect the plagues and Passover of Exodus. Remember when Moses went and smote Egypt with all those plagues, the 10 curses? It conflates, and it is an allegory. It is comparable with Elijah at the mountain, you understand, fighting against the prophets of Baal. So at Carmel, Mount Carmel, the gods of Ahab were mocked and humiliated. You understand? They were mocked and they were also humiliated. Let us check out this verse in 1 Kings. Let me just find it quickly for you. 1 Kings chapter number 18, verse 27. 1 Kings 18, 27. And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, "Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is talking or he is pursuing, or he is on a journey, or peradventure he sleeps and must be awake." So Elijah mocks. He mocks Baal. You understand? So now look at Exodus 12. Exodus 12, verse number 12. Exodus 12:12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt will I execute judgment. I am the Lord. So the Lord now executes his judgment against all the gods of Egypt because he is the Lord. Wow, how awesome is that? So after the Lord's display of power, the people acknowledged him as the sole God, renewing their pledge of exclusive allegiance to the Lord, and that had been sealed at Sinai. You understand? So that was so awesome. Now check this out. After Israel's fall into idolatry, Moses asked the Lord to remove his name from the book of life. You know, I think this one must read Exodus 32. Exodus 32, verse 31, I believe. Exodus 32, from verse 31 and 32. And Moses returned unto the Lord and said, "Oh, these people have sinned a great sin, and have made themselves gods of gold. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written." So Moses says, "Blot me out of your book. Blot me out of your book. Remove me, blot me out of your book." Listen to what Elijah says, 1 Kings chapter 19, verse, is it 4, I think. 1 Kings 19, verse 4. Listen to what Elijah says. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, "It is enough, O Lord. Take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers." Moses prays. He says, "Remove my name from your book of life. Remove my name from the book of life." Elijah comes and says, "Take my life." The Lord Jesus prayed a prayer. He said, "Let this cup pass me by. Nevertheless, not my will, let yours be done." So the Lord denied Elijah the opportunity. The Lord also denied Moses the opportunity. But the Lord allowed the Son to die for us. He allowed the Son to die for us. How awesome is that? Now check this out. Check this out. Now check this out. Check this out. First Kings chapter 19, verse 8 and 9. The Bible tells us from actually from verse 5, First Kings chapter 19 from verse 5. Elijah. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baken on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And this happened like 2 or 3 times. An angel came and gave Elijah water and bread to eat and water to drink. And Elijah did that. And also, verse 11 to 14, the glory of God appeared to Moses, to Elijah, right there in the cave at Mount Horeb. Right? But also, Elijah, Moses in the same mountain, in Mount Horeb, he asked God, let me see your glory. And God caused his backward path to pass by, and then he saw the glory of God. You understand? And then also Moses, he got miraculous bread, miraculous water from the Lord. In fact, in the book of Psalms, manna is called angel's food. So Moses ate angel's food. Elijah also ate angel's food. So, and this happened after 40. So the number 40 provides further confirmation of the similarity of the 2 theophanies. Because remember, Elijah traveled 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb. 40 days and 40 nights. He traveled to Horeb and he stayed in the cave. Moses fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And he was on Mount Horeb. And then also saw the glory of God. So this number 40, it confirms the similarity between the 2 theophanies. You understand? Moses and Elijah appeared before Jesus when he was transfigured. You understand? Moses ate manna, angel's food. Elijah ate a cake baked by an angel. But Jesus, he is the bread from heaven. Jesus is that very bread from heaven. How awesome is that? How awesome is that? There is a great deal of stuff we can look into. There's a great deal of stuff we can check. And please do subscribe and hit like on this, and share this video on WhatsApp. Click on the share button, share it on WhatsApp, share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram, and just help us reach as many people with this awesome revelation and meditation we just had today. And thank you for joining me today, and I'll continue posting more content as I've seen the interest growing as well. And it was fun. These are just my evening meditation right here as I'm having a cup of tea. Let me remove this and keep checking. Sure.